Are you ready to explore the unknown? Dive into the world of the strange, mysterious, and unexplained with Eerie Expeditions magazine. Each issue is packed with spine-tingling tales, cutting-edge paranormal investigations, and exclusive insights into hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Whether you're a seasoned investigator or just love a good ghost story, Eerie Expeditions magazine has something for you. Join our growing community of truth seekers and adventure lovers. Subscribe today at EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com and unlock the secrets of the supernatural. Are you ready? That's EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com, where the extraordinary is just a click away. Dare to discover.
Welcome to the Gateway Podcast, broadcast live from United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM New Orleans. I apologize this evening. I'm having a lot of technical issues with going online for some reason. My camera keeps freezing up and stuff. So if that happens, stay put and I'll be right back on. You've been listening to Sean Kelly with Into the Night right here on the United Public Radio Network 107. I hope everyone is well. For centuries, objects associated with witchcraft, folklore, and ceremonial magic have been misunderstood, feared, and often hidden away. Yet these artifacts tell an extraordinary story, not just about the belief systems, but about history, culture, and the people who practice traditions that have shaped civilizations around the world. Today, we're stepping into one of the most fascinating museums in America, at least to me anyway. The word's out. I am a huge Raymond Buckland fan. I read all his books and I just really like the guy. And I like Gerald Gardner too, but anyhow. This place is dedicated to preserving the history and challenging long-held misconceptions. Joining me are Stephen Intermill, and he's the director of Buckland Museum Witchcraft and Magick in Cleveland, Ohio, and Toni Rotonda, the museum's owner and steward, as well as high priestess of the Temple of Sacrifice. Together, they continue the vision of the museum's founder, Raymond Buckland, whose groundbreaking collection became the first museum of its kind in the United States. We'll explore some of this museum's remarkable history, we'll discuss some of its most captivating artifacts, and we'll take a closer look at some of the importance of preserving the traditions, folklore, and cultural legacy of modern witchcraft. Please join me in welcoming Stephen and Toni to the Gateway Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So just to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Toni?
Toni Rotonda. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Have been, how much time do we have? Because there's a lot to say. No. Just been a long experiencer of everything. I'm sure you probably do on your broadcast. Long time experiencer of everything and all things. Met Ray Buckland in my early 20s at a seance. Became good friends with him. And later on, he became my high priest in a group that we have. And such wonderful time. CL, I don't know if you've met him. I know you're a big fan. I don't know if you ever met him, but amazing individual. So was in his group for quite some time, and the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic was down in New Orleans, and the then caretaker, her name was Reverend Velvet. She could no longer take care of it any longer, so we had to go down and bring it back up. And so since not that long, 2016, almost 10 years, the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft has been in Ohio. And in about 2017, Stephen emailed me, and Stephen, go ahead.
It was 2015. No, 2016. I emailed you, and well, actually, I emailed Ray Buckland, and he forwarded it to you, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Trying to come look at some witchcraft items." Just thinking it'd be a lark. I'd go down to Columbus, see some interesting items, and here we are. I guess I should probably talk about all the other stuff. So at the time, I was working for a Christmas Story House, which is a very popular destination here in the Cleveland area. I was the head of the marketing department. I was the curator of the museum. I was really having a great time, but I was just not finding it very fulfilling. I'm much more interested in fringe / outsider / underground / just not mainstream Christmas for a lifestyle. So I thought about it. I was like, well, what would be an interesting thing to get into? I emailed Ray Buckland. I have no idea that he lived in Ohio. I had no idea about anything. He doesn't respond, but he puts me in touch with Toni. Toni calls me in. She said, I heard you want to see the museum. And I said, yes. And then Toni, you famously said what to me?
It's just a bunch of weird stuff in boxes.
And I said, I live for weird stuff in boxes. And here we are 10 years later. I still live for weird stuff in boxes. Yeah.
Well, what was it like to unbox some of that stuff?
Well, unfortunately. So fortunately and fortunately. Unfortunately, a lot of it was thrown together. Down in New Orleans, it was just really haphazardly, thrown in boxes. So a lot of different traditions were mixed with lots of different things. And but fortunately, Ray kept impeccable records, and he was with us all along. Not here for the actually, it's in this house where we were doing it. We would take photos, send them, and then he would come back with the stories and where he got them. And so thankfully, through Ray, and he was still with us at that time, he was able to put all the pieces together and give us the stories and, where he picked up each item. It was uncomfortable sometimes. For the most part, it was great, but it was uncomfortable. Stephen now works and is at the museum almost every single day, if not every day of the year. And he now knows of the energy that comes with a lot of these artifacts. So having all of this energy in this one house was a little, it was a bit much. I had to go to monthly Reiki sessions to cleanse energy. And so it was tough. It was really, really tough. But I, tried to keep it together. We had a lot of this house in itself has a lot of history. But the museum collection brought a lot more things. And so things were a little scary. We had something, I've been involved in a lot of the paranormal, we could have a whole nother podcast about my family and my history.
Yeah.
But I'll just have you back on for sure.
It's for the very first time, I've cleansed a lot of spirits. I've helped people cross over. I've done things, but for the very first time in my entire life, I saw things levitate and move, you know, when that collection got here. And man, was I so happy when Stephen drove up to Cleveland with it. And I was like, see you later. So yeah, when the collection left, everything went with it. So Stephen now has all this at the museum.
Some of those objects, you have objects that belong to Aleister Crowley, don't you?
We do. And he was actually one of the people that was wandering around the house. I tried to ignore him. He actually wasn't difficult at all. He just basically lurked in the doorways. He'd lean in the doorways and just watch everybody. But thankfully, I wasn't the only one who saw him. There were quite a few others that were here. So, yeah, so it's not just my story. It's lots of other people's stories. But yes, we do. We have a trident wand that's on display. There's a scorpion trident ceremonial bowl that is on display. But, you know, quite a few things. So yes, we do.
That's so interesting. Is there any artifacts from when he spent time in Egypt?
No, I can't say. I can't say what he carried around with him and what. Most of these items were from Israel Regarde. So Crowley gave them to Israel and Israel gave them to us. So we don't know.
So Raymond Buckland, I never met him. But he has spent a lot of time around the Lilydale up in New York, which is pretty interesting. I think Tim Shaw is the one who turned me on to Raymond Buckland. Originally, I studied a lot of the Gerald Gardner materials. So Raymond, he's founded America's first museum dedicated to witchcraft in the 60s. What actually inspired him to preserve these artifacts?
Well, he'd gone to the Isle of Man for training. And he's at Gerald Gardner's Witchcraft Museum. Gardner had passed by then, but he's being trained at the Museum of Witchcraft with his wife, Rosemary Buckland, by Monique Wilson, Lady Olwyn, and her husband, Loic. And he and Rosemary, they're thinking, you know, if we come back to the States, we should establish something similar to this. And then they start collecting objects on that trip. So it's really the whole tradition of the museum is it's a teaching museum. So
I think it'd be really interesting to have met Gerald Gardner as well.
Yeah, I love Gerald Gardner. I think he was probably one of the most fascinating people that ever lived. I love his look. I love his aesthetic. I think he just, I would have loved to have met Gerald.
There's a documentary out there somewhere that I saw on YouTube where there's a lady who owned a bookstore that used
Atlantis Books.
Yes.
And her dad would come home from work and he'd say, Gerald Gardner was in today. King of the witches. His hair goes this way and his beard goes that way. Yeah.
So interesting. The museum traveled from many different places. Did it pick up new items? Like, did it pick up items from New Orleans when it was down there?
It has picked up a few things along the way. Reverend Velvet Wraith was the caretaker. And while she was there, she had added some things. There was a woman in Australia, Tamara von Forsland, that had visited and added some things. So there were some items that were added along the way. Yes. And we are trying to continue to add items. Ironically, on the table behind me, I just picked up, I think we talked, Jean Dixon. So Jean Dixon was an astrologer, did the astrology. That was, what is the Inquirer? Was it the Inquirer?
I think it was the Inquirer, yeah.
That, and there were a number of other, newspapers where she would write the horoscopes. And she was also, I think, Reagan's astrologer. But we just picked up her crystal ball. So we have that, which is lovely. It's lovely. It's so nice. But yes, over the years, since we have taken possession of it, been trying to pick up the pieces. So much has happened since the early 60s. So this is also our 60th anniversary. Ray founded the museum in 1966. So this is our 60th anniversary. The museum went into storage in the late 80s, 90s, and we're really trying to collect items that we have missed along the way, different traditions, authors, artists, people in the occult communities that are telling a story of their path. So we are trying to continually. I'm trying to think. Just recently, Lon Milo Duquette donated a pantacle. Christopher Penzac donated his athame. Stephen, you want to add some more?
Witch Doctor Utu.
Yes. Utu is just there.
He donated this thing. It's called the L'Aculement. I guess I shouldn't call it a thing. It's a effigy, an alligator spirit effigy. And every day I have to wake it up. And it's good. Ashley, our new employee, has gotten really into it. So if I forget, she'll say, "Oh, don't worry, I got it." You have to look it in the eye and you say, "Awake, remember your power." And this is what boots it up every morning. Yes. And it protects us from the loup-garou, the rougarou, and the psychic vampires. And I have to say, there was a guest here a couple Saturdays ago. And she was an interesting one. And she kind of had me cornered for a half hour. And I never want to say anything heretical or anything like that. But when you start talking to me about like the predominant religion around the United States, and you're telling me about how you have an army of entities that destroys witches and demons and stuff like that, after a while, I'm like, I don't really need to hear this. But she had me cornered for about a half hour. But her daughter was definitely part of the Witchcraft team. Her daughter was walking around the museum happier than I've seen anyone in there before. And I was like, what's going on? And then I realized I didn't wake up the psychic vampire protection that day. I'm getting the hit. But one of our guests is having the time of her life walking around and exploring the museum, being engulfed in just things that were very special to her. And I am always willing to take that hit for somebody, like I'm willing to take it. And that made me pretty happy when I realized what was going on. I was like, all right, the reason why we didn't wake up the Aculement this morning, but you better believe that we're pretty much 100% on it every day after that. Did I tell you about that, Toni?
You did not. I hear some crazy stories. I have not heard that one, though.
Yeah.
Is there one object that has the most fascinating history behind it?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at one thing and I can think of a lot of just really just neat things. You look at Gerald Gardner's attaché case and you realize that that's what he carried around, his typewritten books. And they have Gerald Gardner's typewriter at the Museum of Witchcraft in Cornwall. And then you realize that those two museums have this cosmic tie, because it would have gone from the typewriter into the attaché case. Just weird things like that. And then, I don't know. Toni, I'm rambling at this point.
I agree. There are so many different items that have so much history, and if you are lucky enough to be able to spend enough time there and hear all the stories, each individual item has something, a beautiful story behind it. One item that comes to mind, and I was just talking about this with Stephen the other day, is it's a chalice cup that was donated by Janet Farrar. And this was in 2016. Janet had donated this. And this it was a wooden cup, a yew wood cup. And it belonged to Stuart when Stuart Farrar was living in Janet and their coven. And it was something that they used in their rituals. There was an area there in Ireland that Stuart particularly was fond of, and after his passing, he was cremated, and the entire coven went to this area that he'd really like to go, and they put his ashes in this yew wood cup, and they poured some Irish whiskey in there, and they passed it around the coven and drank from it. And for some, it may sound morbid. For me, it's beautiful. So she wanted to donate that to the museum. So there's that. And then, every item there has a story.
So one of the pieces, there's two pieces. One piece that I say is the spirit of the collection, and the other one's the beating heart. The Rosemary Buckland, Rowan, first American high priestess. It's her circlet. Her circlet is her moon adorned tiara. Placed upon her head, this changes American witchcraft landscape forever. So I feel like everything we do at that museum is an emanation out of this moon symbol. But I feel in a weird way that the beating heart of the museum, there's an antique mandrake root. It's estimated to be about 250 years old, and it is a carved magical root, and it's carved as a fertility totem. So what they would do is they take them out of the soil, they inspect them, see their natural form, accentuate it through carving, light carving, put them back in the ground, let them heal, grow. So it's a process between the magician and the root. And eventually you have a fully formed one. And the one we have is really weird because it's shaped as a woman carrying children. So there's already aspects of the mandrake that are tied to fertility already. But this is like a double whammy. And I always feel like one day somebody's going to walk into the museum that's descended from somebody that was helped with that root. We're just psychically going to know. It's like, it just has to happen. So to me, those are the two pieces that are the most really resonant to me as what we have going on there.
Is there, there's one thing I think about, and I forget her name. There is a witch that was in Salem for a long, long time. She's now older.
Lori Cabot?
Yes. So I've met her, and she told a story while I was up there, and she said, her coven had gotten together. They were somewhere near the ocean up there, and they were doing, and there's a similar story from Gardner too, actually, now that I think about it. But she was saying that after the coven got together and they did their ritual work, that there was this layer of energy that just blanketed that area for months after from doing that. Are you finding that in the museum, that that energy just kind of blankets? Like, it doesn't have to be scary, right? It can also be kind of like a healing, good energy.
Yeah, it usually when people come in and they're tend to lean towards this sort of thing, it can be a bit of an overwhelming wash over them. But if they've been properly trained or they paid attention during their training, they know how to ground themselves and put some shields up. Some people don't, and well, it can. Then you have to sit there and guide people a little bit, try to help them find their grounding. But then you get muggles that come in and they're like, "Yeah, this is cool." So it I guess it depends on if you're tuning yourself in or not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. How sensitive you are to it. There are some people that love it, love the energy, and there are others that say it's just overwhelming. It's a lot. There's a lot going on there.
I think one of the things that people don't realize too, that there's different traditions to witchcraft. So you have like Wicca. There's just so many different versions of witchcraft, or traditions, I should say. Can you talk a little bit about the different traditions that are housed in the Buckland Museum?
Stephen?
Well, we do have Gardnerian items, things that trace themselves back to Gerald Gardner. We have some pieces that are offshoots, like Ray Buckland's CX Wicca tradition. So I have things like that. There's not a lot of like the real like competitive witchcraft. I mean, we don't have an item that belongs to like Robert Cochrane or anything like that. But we do have my personal stang kind of rests in the corner. So when people want to talk about that sort of thing, I can pull out my stang and show them an example of what one would look like. We have things that belong to more of the wizardry traditions, where one of our favorite things to share is Oberon Zell Ravenheart's staff.
Sure.
And let's see. Now, the Cabots don't consider themselves Wiccan, do they?
I don't think so. The Cabot Kent tradition. I wouldn't say.
So we do have
There's-
Cabot items in there.
Yeah. There's the Dianic tradition, the Pictus tradition. The Dianic is Phyllis Curott. Phyllis Curott donated this beautiful leaded glass rose bowl just recently.
Yeah.
So, trying to
Ninja Lightfoot's magical staff.
Mm-hmm. Things in the not necessarily Wicca, but different like voodoo or hoodoo traditions. Yeah.
Plus, like the Mandrake root, that wouldn't belong to any tradition, but besides cunning person at the edge of town. And we do have kind of that sort of thing, stuff that's really not so easy to, because everybody always wants to put everything in its little space, right?
Right.
That's this, that's that, that's that. But I just feel like with witchcraft, it's all so fuzzy. There's a lot of fuzzy edges. And I think if you spend a lot of time trying to define yourself, you're really cutting off potential for yourself. It's you're a witch. You get a lot of people that are like, well, I'm this kind of witch and I'm that kind of witch. And I don't like these kind of witches. I only like these kind of witches.
Mm-hmm.
But when they start, we're heading into some interesting times right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ever really get their things together, they're not going to say, oh, well, you're this kind of witch. We won't hang you. So.
Well, I think too, that's what makes your museum so important, though, too.
Yes.
Absolutely. You're kind of bringing to light, that there is, like you mentioned earlier, one religion kind of blankets America, but many of us follow a different path. And it's not, and it's painted as there's a lot of misconceptions around it. How do you guys deal with that?
Just try to explain people what we are and what we're not,
Right.
and try to.
So one of the things that I always, and I've said this a million times, that I get upset about with Stephen is Stephen has the best job. He has and I really, really sometimes envy him. He gets to meet the coolest people. I'm in Columbus, so I am 2 hours south of Cleveland, and I get up there whenever I can. And I try to get up there. Just lately, a lot's been going on, and you just never know who's going to walk in the door. Whether it is witchcraft it is scavenger religion. Yes. So you get every walk of life that comes in, and it could be like he had said, like muggles that they're terrified to even walk through the door. But once they go on the tour, they look at it much more, openly and different. And they're not, I won't say that not all of them are frightened, but a lot of them kind of tone it down a little bit. Stephen does the tour. Stephen explains it in a way that's not scary. So there are people that have no idea when they walk in the doors what they're gonna see. Some people think that it's Hogwarts. It is definitely not. It is real witchcraft practitioners, and he does a great job with that. But sometimes you get people that are new on the path, and they're still afraid to say anything, and you can pick up on that very, very easily. And they are so excited to be in a place where they can be themselves and talk about whatever. And sometimes it can be a little draining for Stephen and the staff because they want to talk about it. They're for the very first time, they're in a place where they can just be themselves. And that's beautiful. And then sometimes you get people that are the hardcore, they've been through it. They've got the battle scars of, fighting for, whether it's, just their right to be able to practice however they want. And they look Stephen up and down because Stephen is way too young to know what they've been through. But Stephen knows, like Stephen, and then they leave, feeling, like he gets it, like he gets them. So, I'm going to get emotional. So it's a wonderful place to, I don't know, it's a safe place. It's a safe place.
So do you guys, do you have like covens and stuff that will come to you guys?
Yeah, just this past Saturday morning, I did 11 o'clock tour. We don't open till noon, but somebody called me up. They're like, I want my coven to go. There's going to be a bunch of us. What do we do? And I'll say, well, why don't you come at 11 o'clock so you could have a private tour? Or, my coven and I, why don't you guys come when we're starting to close so you could linger around for a bit? So we try to accommodate covens that come in quite a bit. And it's loose about the amount of people that we let come in. I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to be gatekeepers, whatever. You can't walk in here. But it's not a very large as far as square footage space. It's deep in the artifacts. It's dense with magic, but it's hard to fit in more than like say 10 people at a time. We try to limit it at 8, but people show up. They need to see the museum. But I can't tell them they can't. So, but when it's like a coven, it's just one group, one magical, like entity. It's easier to have like say 15 people in at a time, So that's why I try to do to accommodate that.
Do you guys actually have people that will come in and do magic around the objects just because they want to get around the energy of, say, Joe Garner, the energy of one of the Cabots. Does
Yeah.
that happen?
Yeah.
And by that, in no way are people taking things out of cases and
Right,
No.
right.
that way. We don't allow that, but yeah.
No, but there's been times where people have started singing songs in the museum, you know, like their favorite chants from you know, like their earliest like witch covens. That's always really like moving. I see people doing the old energy draws. It's nice when you kind of catch people doing that, because people that do that sort of thing tend to not like just dash in and try to take over the whole scene with their showmanship of how witchy they are. But it's usually a private kind of situation.
Got it. Does that ever disturb like any of the objects
No.
or make them more heightened or anything like that?
I mean,
For instance,
yeah.
Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. He claims that when people go in there, which it probably is the case, it disturbs some of the objects, and before you know it, people are getting knocked out and all kinds of stuff happens there.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen there in your museum?
No, the demon box has been a bit weird before, but I've never seen any like physical assault on anyone. So the scrying mirrors have been strange.
Yeah.
We used to have a scrying mirror, and it came from Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and it was signed on the back. And that one was odd because the kids would see shadows coming out of it. So now we got a freaked out kid. I got a freaked out parent. My kid was normal before he walked in here. And I'd be like, yeah, right. But then one day I put up a sign, no child under the age of 13 may stare at this. And I'm thinking, problem solved. Because it was a very tight window. It was kids from the age of about 9 to 11 that would see this, right? Then the adults started paying attention to it. And the first 4 that I noticed that saw something, they all saw the same thing. It was a shadowy figure, similar to what's right behind you in that graphic there, and placing its hand on their shoulder. And all 4 of them were like, yeah, that's a very strange trick of the light. 5th person had a complete meltdown. And, you know, we're talking about, we try to keep a pretty darn good vibes kind of situation in there. Try to keep it light. Try to like really express the joy of what's going on. Not a lot of joy when somebody's hyperventilating out of complete panic. And anytime you're trying to, you're trying to de-escalate and all you're doing is amplifying. So yeah, no longer on display. But back in October, we had a guest here, and she was from Kentucky, and she's like, where's the mirror in the back? And I'm like, well, I don't know. There's a lot of mirrors back there. No, the one. And I'm like, okay. There's plenty of the one mirrors. There's a couple that I talk about a lot. It's like, well, I was staring at it, and I saw a shadowy figure appear behind me. And I wasn't alarmed. That happens. So I just let it appear, and I saw the face. He looked like he wanted to say something. And I said, darling, I'm at Ray Buckland's Witch Museum. I don't have time to hear your story. I got to go. Tell you what, I'll come back. You can tell me your story. So she was back to hear the story. But by that point, everybody had freaked out, and I took it off display. So I'm like, next time, call. Call before you come. We'll make sure that you see that mirror. So I really want to know.
It is in the closet behind me, and
Yeah.
I thought you
yeah, it's back there.
Should we pull it out and have the whole audience here have an experience?
I mean, yeah, we could. I did not tell you I had some friends over on Sunday, and I pulled it out.
Showtime with Toni.
Yeah, it was after a couple bottles of wine, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, the person who actually just commented, The person that looked at it saw Ray Buckland.
Oh,
Right,
cool.
Ray Buckland. And I said, it probably was. It probably was. Wasn't a long scrying. It was just a glimpse, and Ray Buckland had popped up in the mirror.
So you really have the mirror behind you in the closet?
I do. It's in the closet. We had to take it off display. So it is. I can probably dig it out if you want.
Are you able to take it out? Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. One second. Hold on.
So, while Tony's getting that, I'll tell you about the one real ghost story that's happened in the museum that I thought was just so neat and so fun. There was a guy that came. He was in the museum and he was in the back and he was the only person there. And he comes to the front, he's leaving. He's like, had a great time talking with the old guy in the back. Like, the old guy is wearing like an old suit. That guy's cool. This guy leaves. I go back there and I'm looking around. There's no old guy in a suit back there. And it dawned on me, it must have been Ray Buckland talking to him because Ray was a chatty fella.
Wow. That's if somebody wanted to, and I should ask this question when Tony comes back on. If somebody wanted to be part of a coven, but they're really not, like you said, like they don't look like it from the outside, like they're not, like what do they do? How do they be a part of a coven?
There's so many different ways. The old school way, and I think it still works, is if you're in an area that has any kind of metaphysical shops, usually they have some kind of club that you can meet at. Go hang out, see if there's like a open night every month where people go and just hang out and talk. That's one thing. There's every metaphysical shop, usually the owner has a pretty good idea, or the employees have a good idea of what's going on in the area. And a lot of them have bulletin boards where you post something saying, looking for somebody, we're going to create a magical child, or like big invocation next Saturday night. So go and see if there's any contacts with that sort of thing. Witchvox is no longer around, and that's kind of like every other great like message board group is gone the way of Facebook pages, but every region has got 2 or 3 different Facebook groups. And sure, you're on Facebook, you're seeing what kind of poor ideas whoever you went to high school with had, that sort of thing. But there are, spaces within things like that you can find things. I know people tell me about like Twitter and Threads and Blue Skies, that there's big communities there. So, just look around. You'll start pulling threads, and eventually you'll find some people that want to, say, come on over for the next espit.
Yeah. So I would agree. I would agree. Somewhere, someone is having some kind of open ritual.
Yeah.
That one of the local metaphysical shops are probably doing something.
And if you say to yourself, I don't want to drive 2 hours for this, Ray Buckland had to get on a plane and fly to Perth, Scotland. It's and that was back in the day when you had to write letters and wait for a response. Right. So if you if you want somebody down the street, well, that's not so easy. But I don't know. Actually, there's a lady next door to me right now. I'm looking at her house. I'd see her house if it was at night. She's part of the Theosophical Society. So you'll find mystics all over the place.
It's true. I mean, they're everywhere. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Tony,
I still have your note on the back of this, and I don't know. It says, you can see, it says
no children under the age of 13.
13. Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Sorry, I was trying to blow that up a little bit so that we can see it better.
Yeah, it just says it's Scrying Mirror by Rosemary Ellen Guiley. And she passed in 2019. She was amazing. If you knew Rosemary, she was wonderful. She donated, and here is the back. It has her signature and also her husband's signature as well, Joseph. And Joseph, this is rare because Joseph didn't sign a whole lot of these scrying mirrors. But this is the mirror that, oh look, there's my screen. This is a mirror that, we had to take off of display.
Weird, I see my face in the mirror.
I know, right? Can you see it?
Yeah, you're in the mirror too.
That's it.
Have you yourself ever seen anything in that mirror?
I have never scried in it. I have not used, no, I've never used it. I don't, yeah. I do not. Stephen, I don't know if you've ever scried in it, but I have never.
I have to, not really the greatest results, but there's been times where I've spent a few minutes kind of zoning out in it. And you can feel like it's kind of there's a certain pull to it.
Yeah. I just don't. I've not used anyone's athames. I've not worn the helmets. I've not done any of it. It's not. Yeah.
There's only one tool in the museum that I'll ever use, and that was a ceremonial magician from Ohio named Nima, Maggie Engels. And when we do our kind of in-house, it's not, I wouldn't call it a coven at all, but more of a working group. We like to do the rituals out of Ray Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft every 6 weeks for the turn of the wheel of the year. Mm-hmm. I'll use Nima's athame, and that is the best feeling in the world because it definitely has her charge through it. And she is an extraordinarily powerful magician from Ohio. And when she passed, her widower brought her ashes to the museum, and he said that a woman had channeled Nima, and while he was with this woman had channeled Nima and said that Nima, Maggie Engels, told him to take my ashes to the Buckland Museum because I want to hang out with my friends. So,
wow. So what happened when did you take the ashes there?
Yeah, the ashes are in the museum. They're next to her ritual dagger and her pantacle. And it's a pretty, she was pretty important. She showed up one day. It was right after we first opened. And she had come and spent the night at my house before the museum opened. And I had spent a good chunk of that morning the next day staring into Sybil Leek's crystal ball with her. And every once in a while, her eyes would get real big. And then she'd go back in. And then one day she showed up and she had a stroke. So she was very nonverbal. But she had shown up with her husband. And they donated a sketchbook to the museum of her art. And it's really this beautiful, beautiful sketchbook. And I think that was the day where I realized that this wasn't just something I wanted to do for like 6 months or a year, because it was pretty open-ended when we opened the museum. It was like, this is going to be a pop-up museum, see where it goes. And I think that was the moment when she came in with her sketchbook and donated it, where I thought to myself, this is actually, we're doing some good work here.
I think you guys are, for sure. You're preserving something that's very much not underlooked, I guess.
Sorry, I got emotional about it. I get emotional. It's a passion. So
Yeah.
The there's another mirror that I really love. It was Ray Buckland's personal scrying mirror, and it has the archangels written in Theban around it. And that one's neat because that's the one where like kind of people see things that they need to see, but it's very just interpersonal things. My absolute favorite guest to stare in this thing. She was very 80s goth, just black rosary, big hair, heavy eyeliner, and she stares at it and she clutches her rosary and she goes, "She's doing it again." I'm not proud of it, but I'm an extremely nosy person. I had to know what's going on. And she goes, "It's my roommate." I'm like, "Ooh, juicy." She was drinking her almond milk. I was like, "Yeah, I'd be mad too." I totally get that.
And she saw that in the mirror?
She saw that in the mirror. I think she probably saw it earlier that day when she was like, "There was a lot more of this earlier." Maybe that's where it like clicked in her head.
So what's next for you guys? What events and things are happening at the Buckland Museum?
Well, we will be having a Lugnasad ritual August 2nd at the museum. Usually we have a local Attican who's an extraordinarily, Attican and Chad, they're a dynamic duo, extraordinarily talented ritualists. We do public ritual. And that's where, people are looking for people, come hang out at one of our public rituals. That'll be August 2nd. Tomorrow, Julie K. Gray will be there doing photography of a very beautiful style of photography that she does. But that's sold out. Sorry, everyone. We're going to have, just being part of the community in the neighborhood, there's a thing called the Art Hop. And it is kind of like an art walk, but not all the galleries are right next door to each other. August 7th, we'll have a thing with we decided to do something very avant-garde and arty for the Art Hop, where we're going to have some cosmic music playing, a long-form 3-hour drone with a couple of synthesizer players coming in and doing it. And that'll be fun. So you could zone out, listen to cosmic music, and hang out by the museum artifacts. And then
we currently have an exhibit on. So yeah. It's Luciana Lupe Vasconcelos. And Stephen, I don't know if you've seen this. This is my own personal one. So she is an amazing occult artist. So we have her exhibit going on for how long, Stephen?
It goes until September.
And then after that, it's Steve Samsara, who's I've got another one of his pieces. Hold on one second. Sorry. So Steve Samsara has an exhibit coming up in the fall. And this is one, Steve, I don't think you've seen that one either.
Oh, look how gorgeous that is.
Yes.
I think I have.
Have you seen this one?
Yeah, so I think I saw that last time I was there.
Yeah, so a lot of the fae and the fairy folk, he does a lot of work there. We have one of his pieces hanging in the museum, and he will be doing something a little different. So I'm looking forward to seeing. He's not showing it to me yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Because we share a first name, somebody the other day pointed at the piece that we have on display, and they go, Did you draw this? I'm like, no, not me. They're like, "Oh, I hope you had." And I was like, can't have all that talent.
I need to get out there and visit come out there when you're having one of your public rituals.
Yeah.
To make that a point this fall to come out and see you guys. So thank you guys so much for coming on the air.
Oh, thanks for having us.
If somebody, like, how do you get to go to your museum? Do they go online to purchase tickets?
Buy tickets online, bucklandmuseum.org, and make sure that you schedule a tour. It's the best way.
And you guys give tours, right?
Yeah, well, I give an introduction and then tell stories about favorite pieces as people go along. You know, if you're looking at something and I'm like, oh, they may be interested in hearing about this, I'll tell you about it.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. And how do people contact you guys if they want to ask questions or anything else?
A good way is bucklandmuseum@gmail.com, or they could pop on our Facebook and send us a message that way.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Sorry I
thank you, CL.
cried. Sorry I cried.
No worries.
Oh, and CL, thanks for including us in your Erie expeditions.
Oh, thank you. That is a lovely article. Tim Shaw
Yeah.
is the one who did that.
Yeah, if Tim listens to this, he's going to be disappointed that we didn't spend like half the time talking about how amazing Tim is. Amazing guy.
I'm sure he's out there. So, Tim Shaw, you are a great guy. Thank
Tim,
you.
we love you.
Yes.
So, but guys, you guys are great too. Thank you guys so much. I love what you do. And in all seriousness, it really is important what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you.
Don't ever underestimate it. It's really important to preserve the objects in the history.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Gateway Podcast, broadcast from the edge. It's no longer the edge of Mojave, is it? It's the bluffs of the Rockies now. I'm no longer in Nevada, but I still get the questions about Las Vegas. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all next time.